Hi, everybody. This is day 1095. 1095 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And some more breaking news. There seems to be breaking news every day, more and more information coming out. We have more federal laws that were broken. Absolutely, were broken. And so tomorrow we will be submitting federal charges, um, well, criminal charges, because of this federal law that was broken. But I have even more, and I'm going to lay it out to you today in Richard's case. Richard just didn't go missing. Okay. A lot of things happened, and um, this this whole situation right now with the director or the chief of security of Fort Bliss, his name is Tom Kane, and he just retired recently. He had that job, I believe, 15 years or more. And so he is a seasoned law enforcement officer that received this very important job over Fort Bliss, a very important military installation, to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. It's very important um, that the people that we give these jobs to, this authority to, understands the commission that they have, the trust that we are giving them when they take this job. And we give them everything, right? We give them a very nice uh, wage and benefits and retirement. Um, they will have it all. They will have it all to have a nice, secure life. We give them that as Americans. But if you're up to no good, sometimes what we give them is still not enough. It's still not enough. And then the trust is betrayed. And the trust, once betrayed, leads to other betrayals. And this is what has happened with Tom Kane. And it's a mess. It's a terrible mess because the betrayal is of the duty, the trust that the American people put in him to secure our most valuable assets, which is our volunteer sons and daughters. And then the vast amount of equipment and weapons and ammunition that is on Fort Bliss. And all that Fort Bliss entails, because it's huge. And, I went to school on Fort Bliss. I was born at White Sands. I understand. And so let me explain to you what Tom Kane does, okay? For James Hart to get his security clearance, for Leilani Hart to get her security clearance, to get onto, let me make sure I have all of this right, because I've been, I want to make sure I'm saying all this right. If I'm not, then please correct me. Because Tom Kane is so important in this. He's the director, you can call him the chief of security of Fort Bliss. And so all the passes that are required to get on post, and you can see if you Google Tom Kane or giving passes out to the community to get on Fort Bliss, his name will come up. Okay? And many more things. Just like building certain structures. Everything that is going on Fort Bliss is, he needs to know about it. He needs to know about it. He needs to know because he's in charge of all the cameras. He's in charge of all the people that come and go. Be them contractors, be them soldiers. He needs to know. And there's so much of this that I'm just learning about that I will that I will share with you as I learn about it. But it's very, very important that you know that no camera on or off, no guard at the gates, no group of guards being hired, no contractors getting their security clearance to come onto Fort Bliss is bypassed by Tom Kane. He knows it. He approves it. He is in charge of it. The buck stops with him. So for James Hart to work on Fort Bliss, this is just something that came to my mind. For Jakovitz to be working at the VA right now is so concerning to me, because he told us they brought in girls during the COVID when the gates were closed down, when not closed down, but the visitor center was closed down. Nobody had to be signed on. And it wasn't just him telling us that. I went and confirmed it with others that witnessed girls being brought on to Fort Bliss. And now we have, of course, let me play you this. And this has everything to do, let's see if this has to do with a TikToker. And I think I put it up here. And I think it's super important. And let me see if I can play it. It's Margot. I think Margot. Yeah, here it is. I found it right away. Thank you. Okay, let's make sure I can play it.
A few weeks ago, I posted a video.
Okay. So let me back it up. And I want to play this. I didn't mean to play this, but it just kind of came up. And I think I need to play it. See if you guys can see it. Good.
A few weeks ago, I posted a video about this soldier right here, Carlos Humberto Richard Walsh, who had and was arrested for having a 14-year-old living with him at the barracks room or in his barracks room. So many people commented in the comment section that this act of someone living with a soldier in the barracks room is not uncommon, which that really shook me. But listen, I'm not here to talk about that. I am here because I got my hands on a Snapchat video that Carlos made in January. I'm getting ready to play the video for you right now. But in the video, it appears that Carlos had either received an Article 15, was in the process of receiving an Article 15 or some sort of other paperwork, and he was being processed out of the Army. Carlos was not too happy about it, and he appears to be threatening people. But I'm going to play the video for you and you let me know what you think.
So I want to make this very clear on what's going on right now. There's a lot being done on the inside and outside of the United States Army with me. Just to sum it up, I am being field grade Article 15 and might possibly be separated from the Army. I'll make this very clear. I'm not going away. People try to come in and try to fight me. I'm not gonna have that bullshit. You guys want to fight, you guys are gonna get a fight. This is my warning to those who try to step in my way. Don't do it. Don't try to. I will be at every corner waiting. I promise, I vow. See you on the other side.
Okie dokie. Okay. What is going on Fort Bliss? What is going on Fort Bliss? This is a Major General Eisenhower problem. This is a Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe problem. This is a Tom Kane, the Director of Security of Fort Bliss, problem. It is, I think that Margot did that brilliantly because she didn't allege anything. She just let people hear it and put two to two together, which means Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, we brought in girls during COVID to party. I don't think that he made them wear masks. I don't think that he chaperoned them to make sure that they were 6 feet apart. I don't think that he made sure that there was not a marketplace for illegal drugs in the barracks. I don't think that he made sure that there was not alcohol being consumed by these minors. I don't think that he was doing his duty on Fort Bliss, okay? I don't think he was. I know he wasn't, because he told a very important Team Fine Richard Halliday member that he didn't even know there was an absentee soldier in Richard's case. And he came up to me and told me that he had to give me the 2-week letter months later because he was embarrassed that he had to give it to us. He didn't want to give it to my husband. He wanted to give it to me. And I'm telling you, he was shaking in his boots. He was shaking. He was shaking. And it wasn't that he had some kind of medical problem. He might have a medical problem. But whatever is in his conscience made him shake even more. Okay? And he is coming and admitting this to us as a norm. And I'm sure that there wasn't a curfew for these girls coming in the very late in the evening when it's dark in the barracks. Were they spending the night there? And I'm sure because of all of what the witness testimonies that I have received and what Margot has received, this is a regular incident that people live and sleep overnight in the barracks that do not belong there, that do not fit into the SOP, the standard operating procedure. And so he could have that 14-year-old girl, which I know more about. He could have her and prostitute her in the barracks and feel so emboldened because this is going on at all. I mean, it's Major General Clem Coward that was the Command Sergeant Major Jackovitz, it wasn't Stewart at the time, it was Clem Coward. And what was Lieutenant Colonel Roddick doing? What was Jones doing? What were these people doing? What were they thinking? What's going on Fort Bliss? We just had another 6 or 7 soldiers arrested today. And they want us to believe that they were arrested and booked because they went up to do some vandalism up by the Star, up in the mountains. I don't know. I don't buy that, because the level of wrongdoing is so high that just vandalism is just small little potatoes, right? Or small little peas or whatever, in respect to prostituting out for actually child trafficking in the barracks. Okay, let's say what it is. But God's children are not for sale. They're child trafficking in the barracks. But God's children are not for sale. This is a huge problem. And Tom Kane is implicated in this. Tom Kane is implicated because I don't want to speak for him, but his job was to be in charge of the security of Fort Bliss. So if the generals are not doing their job, and the command sergeant major, the NCOs, the senior NCOs are not doing their job, they have the likes of First Sergeant the First Sergeant Jay Paulin and First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero, they have the likes of them, then it is Tom Kane's duty to oversight, to call them out, to do something, because his job is the security of Fort Bliss, and he got paid good money to do that. And he got the trust of the American people to do that. And there has to be checks and balances. And we have no checks and balances anymore because everybody's compromised. Everybody's compromised because our morality has just eroded. And so everybody is compromised in some way or another. If it's with pedophilia, that's a big one. If it's with narcotics trafficking, if it's with weapons smuggling, if it's with illegal equipment sales, if it's with alcoholism, if it's with training to suicide, if it's with having affairs, if it's, it is, if it's with real estate, million, billion, $trillion real estate deals going on, with all of this entrusted monies that we have given the DOD that they have betrayed us with. And we know that they have betrayed us with it because the audits have showed missing unaccounted for trillions of dollars. But they also have 85,000 unaccounted for minors from the emergency intake center there on Fort Bliss. So what's going on with Tom Kane with that? And his connections with other people that are in charge with the psychological health of the children that are there in these facilities. You see, everything is compromised and connected together. There's a conflict of interest. And here Richard is coming from the Midlands of Ireland, being homeschooled, in a secure household, his household totally secured, so secure that we don't have the chaos going on in our family. We didn't have the chaos going on in our family until the COVID mandates made some of our family members lose jobs. That's when the chaos started, but we really worked together. We were working together. And then we find out that Richard, um, without the military contacting us, we have to find out that our son is missing. We have to find out that there's foul play. We have to find out that he's a whistleblower. We have to find out who FBI man is. Took us months. It took the FBI hours. Maybe not even that long. But it took us months. But because there is not the transparency that the family absolutely should have, it's so criminal to make us the chief investigators of our son's case and have it go on for 3 years when they knew things in 2020. They knew they had found Richard's remains. They knew they found his remains again. They knew that they found his remains again. They knew that he had been dismembered. I'm getting reports that it was burned. That they have the autopsy reports. And I think that Dr. Raskin Ortez can absolutely give us some answers here. We also could get some answers from Judge Robert Shook, who had to give the warrants out to exhume these remains, to gather these remains, to secure this area. But some of those remains were found on Fort Bliss. So, of course, that involved Tom Kane. And why is it that Leilani Hart has connections within JAG, has connections with Tom Kane through Park University? How is it that Leilani Hart has connections right there in the CID with Tavita Nusa, and on and on and on, these connections? And by her having these connections, she's married to James Hart. Her son is First Lieutenant Dallas Hart. So with those connections, then James Hart also has these connections, you see, because this is these are long-standing relationships, relationships that you would go to picnics with and barbecues with, and you would meet with, and you would collude with, and even go into business with, right? Even go into do business dealings with. And so you have all these different connections. And don't forget that Leilani Hart has a conflict of interest, a relationship, a long relationship with Clem Coward. So there is a lot of conflicts of interest here. Because if she has a relationship with Clem Coward, then so does First Lieutenant Dallas Hart. So does James Hart. And James Hart, of course, has a relationship with Jay Pollan. And anybody that has some connections in Park University is not that big, y'all. All of the teachers know all of the students, and all of the students know all of the teachers. And so, and because it's law enforcement, they, of course, bounce off each other on things that they need and help that they need in situations that they're getting into. And of course, I know sometimes you're not getting the help that you need, and then you put in complaints and everything. Leilani Hart is known to put in complaints and ruin people's lives. And why is Jag going along with it when there's a long-standing history that even Tom Kane would know? And why is he going along with trying to destroy a life? And especially if they are a key witness in Richard Halliday's case, why would Tom Kane go along with it? How deep are these relationships? These conflicts of interest, how much are they connected? What is that very wicked web that they weaved amongst themselves? And you see, they brought in Major General Eisenhower, and it's his duty for checks and balances now. It's his duty because let me just read you off some of the crimes that have been committed. I'll read you off some of the allegations first, and then tell you which statutes they correspond to. But just in regards to the security cameras. Oh, and I should make sure I'm on. Sorry, y'all. I should make sure I'm on. Before I get into these allegations, because I think it's so important. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm on. Thank you, Anicia. I see you now. Okay, so just in regards with Tom Kane, now you have to remember Tom Kane is in his late 60s. Okay? He is not just some 40-year-old. Okay? He is seasoned. He is a seasoned law enforcement officer. He is also, I believe he's a retired lieutenant colonel or colonel, a police officer. Anyway, here he is, a director of security of Fort Bliss, the chief of security of Fort Bliss. His exact title, I read it. Anyway, I'll get it to you. But he's in charge of all of the security cameras on Fort Bliss, okay, amongst other things. But I just want to talk about just in regards to the security cameras on Fort Bliss. And this is why we have to make some criminal complaints. The tampering with surveillance footage is an allegation. One of the key allegations against Tom Kane, because it involves tampering with the security cameras, the security camera footage on Fort Bliss. If you manipulate or you delete surveillance videos, absolutely, it would change everything, a lot of things. It would be crucial in our son's case, right? Absolutely. Where is the CCTV footage? And the only person that could delete it or could remove it would be Tom Kane. The failure to preserve evidence is also a crime. And if he deleted the video footage, that's a crime, because that's a double crime. The negligence, the intentional actions, and that's what I want to tell you about. Nobody could forcibly remove Richard, because at this time it's a kidnapping case too. Okay? It's a kidnapping case. They forcibly removed him. Because if they had him walking on his own, getting in his car, leaving post on his own willingly, they would have showed that footage. they would have showed that footage. And they were trying to get that by those false allegations of the, supposedly the escort, right? At the very, very beginning. And then that all blew up. And then they had to go back and redo things. And it gives me a little hope for Soto, even though we have put in major complaints about him and his dealings with all of this. But that little piece of time is interesting. But they were trying to get someone to say that Richard just walked away, and that blew up in their face. The witness was somewhere else at 4:00 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, coming through the gates. This is during COVID lockdown. He didn't have the privilege, to come and go as he wanted. So that aggravated me, that Soto would always say, well, I have the privilege. I'm a law enforcement. Slavery is not okay, y'all. Gestapo type tactics are not okay. They're not okay. And when someone says something like that to me, that people had to be locked in and locked down and in the United States of America for fear of something that you had a 99.96, really, it was such a scam, and it's just so wicked. And he was just lockstepping to it. And I just, anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. But so let's get back to Tom Kane and these surveillance videos. They don't have Richard leaving on his own. So this is a kidnapping. Okay, this is a forced removal of Richard. And, I've been given information that there are witnesses that witnessed him being forcibly removed. Okay. Just the thought of it, because Richard was so strong. I just can't even imagine. But he did not walk away willingly. And for that to happen, for the kidnapping to happen, for the murder to happen, for the disposal, the cutting up, the disposal, all the movements, emotions, and everything that had to go on to murder Richard, to forcibly remove Richard, and to murder him that way, Tom Kane would have had to have a heads up. That's what I'm saying. He had to have had a heads up. They had to have had the perpetrators needed to be emboldened and said, oh yeah, Tom Kane's in our pocket. Tom Kane's in our pocket. Clem Coward's in our pocket. But Tom Kane is in our pocket because Tom Kane is in charge of the cameras. He's in our pocket. He'll do what we want. He'll do what we want, or he knows what we're about to do. This is not a crazy mom talking. Think about it. This is collusion with the suspects, collusion with the perpetrators. That Tom Kane doesn't look at our volunteer sons and daughters as human beings. They're just pawns. They're just useful parts of a business plan, right? They get that $25,000 enlistment bonus or their $50,000 enlistment bonus, and they're just, they're useful to us, but they're not, to me, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but to me, this is anyone that can do what he did. He had to, in his heart of hearts, I think this is my opinion, he'd have to dehumanize them. He couldn't think of the mamas of these sons and daughters, the fathers of these sons and daughters, the siblings of these sons and daughters, the children of these sons and daughters that volunteer to serve. And that they need they join for the discipline, they join for the mentoring, they join for to be changed. And you saw that in the response from this Richard, who had the 14-year-old living in his barracks room. You saw that in his mannerism, in his language, in who he is. He is a trained soldier. They have a way about them. They have a language about them. And they have a culture about them. And that is formed by the NCOs. That is formed by the directives of the command, by the operational orders of the command, by the 44 four-star generals and admirals. And he felt emboldened to commit the crime of child trafficking that he was doing. Is there more to this? Right? Is there more to this? But there has to be more to this, because they want him to just look bad. But it's very interesting what he's going to say, what he can report, who was also participating in these kind of activities, because Richard felt he had to report to the CPS. So if Richard had to report to the CPS, this wasn't a one-off. He was seeing a systemic problem. If he had to report to the CID, he didn't see a one-off. He's not going to go and report for a one-off, okay? He's seeing a systemic problem. He's seeing it going on all over. And Margot is saying that she's getting reports, like I have been getting reports, that this is a culture of child trafficking, a culture of violence, a culture of narcotics trafficking, a culture of weapons smuggling and equipment sales and ammunition sales and all these other things that go with this. And at a higher level, you start getting into the real estate deals. Okay? You start getting into the real estate. Because the real estate, a $1 billion hospital, I'll never forget that. I'm like, we have a perfectly good hospital that's not really even being used. We don't have enough people here. Why do they want to contract out $1 billion? $1 billion. And if they contract out $1 billion, it's going to be more, because they always go over budget. So, this is easy money for so many way up on top. It is, it's legalized theft. That's what it is. Legalized theft. And it's destroying our country, because we're not getting what we need, right? We're getting what you know, the empty cities, the we'll build this hospital, and then okay, maybe we'll start some kind of pandemic to fill it up or something. I mean, I what double a pandemic, so we have two hospitals filled. I mean, the hospitals are becoming our major, our hub centers, because everyone is getting sick, instead of focusing on how to keep us all healthy and out of a hospital. That's a whole nother discussion. But Tom Kane was supposed to keep the security of Fort Bliss healthy. And he didn't do that. And I would say there needs to be an investigation if he participated in being an accomplice to the forced disappearance and the murder of my son. Because he would have to be an accomplice for this to happen. And if someone else that was under him was doing this and he didn't come to us, so which leads to the next problem. Okay. It's the obstruction of justice, the denial of due process. We have a huge charge against him. The abuse of power and authority. Why do we say this? Because we wrote him a letter. We wanted an open information request, open file, open. We wanted to know about all of the things that he was in charge of for, well, an open records request, right? We sent him an open records request. He is bound by law to honor that, to at least get back to us. And this is where the crimes are so bad in this case, is because we did discover who Nadal Baim is and asked and want a thorough investigation in that. We did discover who Leilani Hart is, and who First Lieutenant Dallas Hart is, and who what's going on with Jay Pollan, and what's going on with James Hart. And we discovered who was sending us those vile and vulgar phone messages for months and months. We, wanted to know the names of the so-called K9 team that supposedly looked for Richard's remains. We found out who Anthony Swafford was, what was going on with the military police guard mount. I mean, this is all things on the top of my head. Someone can chime in and tell us other things that we have found out that are just jaw-dropping. And we have gone to the IG. We have gone to the AG. We have gone to the DA, who's supposed to be in contact with us also. Okay, offering us some security, some protection. We have gone to the governor. We have gone to Congress, to the Senate. We have gone to the media. We have gone to Veronica Escobar several times. We've gone to city reps. We went to Tom Kane. We've gone to the El Paso Police Department. I cannot tell you how many letters that Rob has sent off. And of course, to the archives, all these open record information where we found out that they scrubbed Richard's file of any mention of our key witness. And then they ignored our key witness, right? They just scrubbed him from there. Um, and also sanitized Richard's file of the continuous severe retaliation that he received unjustly. And then trying to make themselves look good, they take him who is murdered. They know he's murdered. They know he's been dismembered. They know that because they have, just talked to Dr. Raskin Ortez, right? Just talk to him. Just talk to Judge Robert Lee Shook. We've written Robert Lee Shook. We've written Jack. We've written the generals many times. So, General McConville has oversight. General Milley has oversight. Um, the IG has oversight. And of course, Veronica Escobar has oversight. Senator Cruz has oversight. And, it's where is it? Where is the investigation? Where is the congressional inquiry? Where is the congressional hearing? Where is this? And like we wrote, all of them, we wrote Tom Kane for an open records request, and he intentionally, because we know this, we have a witness, he intentionally did not answer it. He intentionally did not answer it. And, I'm wondering, did he bury it because the next person that comes in won't know anything about our open records request? And who are they going to handpick to take his place? So this is a non-compliance with the open records request. It's an obstruction of information. It's a violation of transparency and accountability. It's a disregard for the family's concerns, and absolutely it is a breach of federal law. And so I looked up the federal laws, Federal Statute 18 U.S. Code 1519, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in federal investigations. Federal Statute 18 U.S. Code 1512, tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant, collusion with suspects. Federal Statute 18 U.S. Code 371, conspiracy to commit offense or to defraud the United States. Federal Statute 18 U.S. Code 1503, influencing or injuring an officer or juror generally. And that's the abuse of power. I think obstruction of justice. Depending, okay, so not honoring a FOIA, that's 18 U.S. Code 1503. So here we are trying to find the federal laws that have been violated here, because they've absolutely violated, he absolutely violated the law by intentionally not getting back with us. Intentionally. We have a witness. And our allegation is that he knew about what was going to happen to Richard. The forcible removal and the murder of him, or and and that he agreed to destroy evidence, hide evidence, delete evidence, um, alter evidence of the cameras, just on the cameras. There's so much more, y'all. There's so much more. But just on us riding him and the cameras, that is huge. And, he betrayed trust in a mega way. In a mega way. And if he's going to betray trust like that, then he's open to betray trust in other areas of his life. And that's going to come into play too. Okay, that's going to come into play in this, when we're at liberty to say, when we have more information, we'll put that out too. But, it's just like Judge Shook. It's the same thing. We wrote him, and we have to make these criminal complaints, because if we don't, then we're essentially, silence is consent, right? Silence is consent. So we have to make these criminal complaints against these peoples that are supposed to be teaching us, because don't forget Park University, teaching us, which I don't understand. Something has to happen. I mean, does Park University understand what's happening? You know, we're trusting these people to teach us, law enforcement, how to keep our country secure, our sons and daughters secure, our equipment secure, our weapons secure, our secrets secure, and yet they're breaching that trust in every way. In every way. So I don't know, I don't understand how this is not going to have some kind of ramifications, and that's why I'm talking about it, because as sad as it is, and this, y'all, this makes me so sad. This is our country we're talking about. These are our institutions that we're talking about. These are the people of our country that we're talking about. These are supposed to be the best and the brightest. This is what, going to college and having a nice job and all that. This is what this is supposed to be. And it's turning out to be so ugly that all I can say is pray, 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 right? Pray. But we need to pray is to do, and to do is to pray. Right? Never forget that. I think it was St. Benedict that said that. To pray is to do, and to do is to pray. And so we have to put in these criminal complaints. We have to. We have to stand up for our son. We absolutely have to do that. Because for standing up for Richard is standing up for every service member. It's standing up for our country. And we have to stand up and say, something stinks here. Something is not right. And we can't continue this kind of culture. We can't continue these kinds of breaches and SOP and standard operating procedures, and in the trust that the American people have given the institutions. We can't pay these people, honor their retirements and everything after they have stuck us in the eye with their finger. Killed, allowed the murder of our sons, allowed the raping of our daughters and the murder of our daughters, and covered it up. And we just can't be afraid of them. because fear is just going to um, snowball into more, to embolden them to become bullies even more. You show a bully, because these are bullies, y'all. They're emboldened to breach the trust, to stick us in the eye, to destroy our lives, to destroy our children's lives. They're emboldened to do it. They did it during 2020. It was the DOD, y'all. It was the DOD. And so, we've got to stand up to these bullies that use our funds, our funds. And they cannot just disregard our concerns. They cannot just undermine public trust and break all kinds of ethics and professional conduct rules. They can't do that. Because they work for us. We are their oversight. And we can't depend on, and why do we even have them? We should save us some money. We can't depend on Veronica Escobar to be oversight. She has all these privileges and she doesn't even wield them correctly. So we have to be the oversight. I mean, General McConville, General Garrett, General, who is retired, I understand, but all the replacements, I have to keep up with all the, they're replacing all these people. And Judge Robert Shook, they're replacing him. Y'all, it's such a, they're covering for themselves. Okay, it's so clear that they're running to their, whatever. They're just running out and they are spreading themselves out because they know that this is so bad. This is so bad, and they're running for cover. And so they're using their tactics. And look at this soldier that went to North Korea. That's where he ran for cover, to North Korea. He didn't want to come back to Fort Bliss. So these 44 four-star generals and admirals need to be held accountable. Our representatives need to be held accountable. Our senators need to be held accountable. Our AUSAs, our DA, AG, IG, all these attorneys that are supposed to be so benevolent and helping and securing us and everything like that. And many more. And Tom Kane needs to be held accountable for this. And not for my sake. I want to make this very clear. I'm not a very revengeful person at all. I've never been. Ask any friend. I don't like taking revenge. I'm not vengeful. I might not talk to you if you've breached my trust. I might just say, well, whatever, go your way and I'll go my way. Okay? I've done that. But I don't have malice. And so I am not saying these people need to be held accountable for this crime because of malice. I'm saying that Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart, Jay Pollan, James Hart, Tavita Nusa, David Park, Michael Roddick, Clem Coward, Dauber, Colonel Dauber, and on and on and on and on. They need to be held accountable because it's the right thing to do for our country. It's the right thing. It's the lawful thing. We have laws, and we need to follow the laws. And they can't just get away with breaking the laws and breaking public trust and undermining public trust and using us, sticking a finger in our eye, destroying our lives, disregarding any kind of family concerns, not being transparent, being thieves and being murderers and being accomplices and obstructing justice. They cannot get away with this because it's the end of our country then. And we see this with the highest levels. They get away with so much bad stuff, and it undermines our entire country, the entire fabric of our country. So it's you've got to do the right thing. To pray is to do is to pray. And that means, as hard as it is sometimes, you've got to do the right thing. And yeah, we've suffered through this. People don't even know what's going on behind the scenes. We've suffered through this. It's been, to us, so childish, or they project what they've done onto others that don't want to play with the Vanity Fair. They try to smear your good name. They absolutely did everything they could to smear Richard's good name. And he did something amazing. As a young, beautiful, vim and vigor full young man, he stood up against their sex cults. He stood up against their corruption. He stood up against them. And it might not have been like this heroic stand. It might have been with fear and trembling, but he did it. He did it. And that is a remarkable thing to do for a young man in that low of a rank in a country that is his own, but he really never grew up here. He wasn't brainwashed. With the American TV system or whatever, he was trained up in the way he should go, in the way he should go according to God. That's the best that we tried to do. We're not perfect, but we tried to do that. And he knew that it was wrong to traffic young women, to traffic children, minors, to have some kind of business plan, investment plan that was illegal. He knew it was wrong. And to stand up against it is a remarkable thing, especially after suffering so much retaliation. Because Tom Kane couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand against it. And he's a seasoned law enforcement officer. And he fell to the corruption. He fell for it. Richard didn't. It's a remarkable thing. Not many people. I don't know. I hope to say that I wouldn't have fallen for that kind of pressure. But, when you look at Tom Kane and his very privileged life, and he was that weak, who would have thought? Who would have thought that he would be so weak to betray the trust like he did on so many fronts, y'all? So many. Richard did a remarkable thing, and we've got to stand up for it. We really do. So thank you so much for coming on and praying. And also do write Major General Eisenhower. Tomorrow, he's it's going to be an interesting day. There were things that happened behind the scenes today, and I hope that when I get off, I'll probably say, "Oh, I forgot to tell him this." But inch by inch is a cinch. We've got to keep putting those letters in. But this is a biggie, and I think it's the House of Cards is starting to get off balance. It's starting to get off balance, and it's just unsustainable. See, this is the thing with House of Cards. They're just unsustainable. You might be really good at balancing them. But it's going to fall sooner or later. And Richard's entire case is a house of cards. And they're working very hard to keep it upright. But this whole thing with Tom Kane and Leilani Hart knowing a person that can control the cameras, knowing a person in the JAG, knowing the community, the very small community, 5, 7, 9 people maybe. I don't know. I think it's less than 9, less than 7, in the CID office. And to know Clem Cower, to know the area, to have all these conflicts of interest, and the people that we trusted at the beginning of this, knowing all of this and not telling us. Not telling us that Richard was a whistleblower, that this person that everyone I've talked to says that Leilani Hart's a troublemaker. A history of being a troublemaker. Even James Hart. James Hart is the one that told me, and others. But he doesn't have a clean slate either. So, I mean, none of us do. But these are major crimes, y'all. Pedophilia is a major crime. It's illegal. And everything that surrounds it. It's illegal. All the crimes that surround it. So, this is a big deal. And I don't know why Tom Kane gave him security clearance, especially with the emergency intake center for children, when he works very closely with the person in charge of the children's psychological health there. God's children are not for sale. And I would say that our volunteer sons and daughters' lives are not either. They can't be used and abused like that they're just commodities. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. Happened to find you on my way to bed. God bless you tonight. Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much. So, have sweet dreams, and we'll be back tomorrow, God willing. And just remember, Richard did a remarkable thing, and God's children are not for sale. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.